Tonight, the controversy surrounding this planned public safety training center. It is back in the spotlight. Multiple people still facing charges of domestic terrorism connected to protests. Now the ACLU of Georgia is getting involved. Atlanta News First Yasmina Alston has more on the story.
The ACLU of Georgia sent a letter to the Georgia Attorney General's office as well as to the GBI. They say the arrests of protesters against the Public Safety Training Center are based on false accusations. This is the letter the ACLU of Georgia sent to Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr and GBI Director Mark Register. They have concerns about the arrests made during protest related to the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center.
This is part of our constitutional system, part of how people are allowed to express their political views and express their opposition or support for different political matters. And it's deeply concerning that the state of Georgia would use something like, misrepresent and accuse people of terrorism.
The ACLU says they became concerned when the first arrests were made using Georgia's domestic terrorism law to charge protesters. Most recently, 3 activists were arrested, all part of the Atlanta Solidarity Fund that provided bail money and help to arrested protesters. The 3 were charged with money laundering and charity fraud. But protesters in the ACLU argue the arrests were retaliation. Executive Director Andrea Young says their concern also lies in tying domestic terrorism to legitimate protests. The organization says they want to see proof from state officials that organizations involved in the protests have been designated as domestic violent extremist groups.
People are being punished for their opposition to the training center, not for the acts that they allegedly committed.
We have not yet received a response from the AG's office. However, a spokesperson for the GBI did tell us they have no comment at this time because it is still an ongoing investigation. The ACLU says they have not yet received a response. In downtown Atlanta, Yasmina Alston, Atlanta News First.